Position previews continue here on Orange and Blue today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason talking about the edge for the Broncos. And the edge for the Broncos, honestly, the one I'm looking forward to the most, and there's a lot, but the one is Baron Browning, because I wanted him to take that step last year, Mason, then he got hurt. And I'm like, damn it. Why can't he just stay healthy and make that step? We've seen flashes. Nik Bonitto will be part of this conversation in a big, big way. And we've seen him make plays all off season. But Baron has shown some fights with Garett, bolles, with this spin move that'll make you lose your mind. Could he be taking that step this year that I wanted him to take last year?
The fact that he was out there for OTAs and minicamp is something that was a big first step for him. He missed that time last year. Then he missed camp. Then he missed the start of the season. And as we see so often, even with veterans, you're fighting from behind when that happens. Now, that being said, it's hard to deny that when Browning came in the lineup, a profound impact. I mean, not that one player has a full impact on the record, but the Broncos were 1-5 before Browning came back, and then won the next 5 in a row, and then specifically on defense became a turnover machine in those 5 wins. Baron Browning, of course, had 3 sacks, and he had 5 quarterback hits in total. He did have an impact when he came in. It did tail off a bit toward the end of the season, but it's like you're just waiting on Baron Browning, right? Like, you see it in practice. You see it in bursts in the games. It excites you. But this is also a player who's missed at least 3 games every season that he's played. He had that first year, of course, where when he finally got out there and was playing consistently, he was an inside linebacker. He's got a home on the edge. He's settled in there. Moving him back inside is really not something that's in the thought process. It's time. It's a contract year. He's even selling shares of himself, his future earnings. You can literally buy stock, as it were, in Baron Browning at this point. And it's a big moment. It's his contract year, man. And there may not be room at the end for both him and Jonathan Cooper, both coming into contract years. Browning's got the most natural ability, but so far Cooper has been able to stay healthy and has had the best overall performance. He's steadier. Baron Browning is spectacular.
Has the potential to be spectacular, which means he has the potential to price himself out of the Broncos' range, even with the salary cap growing, even with them having more money. And to me, it's Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be all right with either one. Who's going to take the hometown deal? If Baron Browning produces the way he can, and I'm not going to be crazy with the number, let's put the number at 12.
Yeah.
12 sacks.
Okay.
I think that's a real good number for Baron Browning to reach this year, and he's got the capability of doing even more. Don't want to do crazy talk, but 12 is a good number.
12 is a good number. Let me ask you this. Let's say you can't work out a contract for Baron Browning.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Would 12 sacks be worthy of a franchise tag, which is projected for next year, according to overthecap.com, at $24.007 million?
He wouldn't like it, but yeah, because do it again. You've missed a lot of time. If you're healthy this year, great. Can you do it again? We're going to keep you around. We're going to pay you handsomely.
Yes.
But until you get that long-term security, you got to prove that you can do it again.
It's something I think you think about if he has that explosive type of season where he does reach up and become the Broncos' first double-digit sacker since 2018. Think about that. The Broncos, who for most of the 2010s had the best collection of edges in football, because it wasn't just Von Miller. It was Elvis Dumervil early in the decade. Even Sean Phillips had a double-digit sack season early in the decade. And then they bring in DeMarcus Ware. They draft Shane Ray. They develop Shaq Barrett. Barrett goes on to massive things with Tampa Bay. They draft Bradley Chubb. Chubb looks really good until that torn ACL in his second year. The Broncos set a standard at edge in the 2010s, and since then, They haven't lived up to that.
Not a lot.
Close.
Not a lot. And it's there. And now I'm thinking, like, who else would be franchise worthy? You're getting deals done with Pat Surtain and Quinn Miners. So
Well,
it's
if
like,
you, yeah, because remember on Quinn Miners as well, when it comes to offensive linemen, now guards are becoming more expensive, but they don't separate centers, guards, and tackles. It's just O-line. The franchise tag number for the offensive line is, by the way, a little bit more than linebacker, because this is the other thing. The franchise tag amounts are antiquated because they have it's linebacker, defensive line, or it's linebacker, defensive end, defensive tackle, and then offensive line as a collective, right? So,
yeah, that is antiquated. So
actually, by the way, I have to say I accidentally misread the chart. The projected for next year is $25.809 million for linebacker, $24.727 for offensive line. So they're pretty close to each other in terms of cap accounting, right?
Right.
They're both expensive.
But whereas
don't have to
Miners
worry
has
about
done it and done it for years, Browning would have done it for 1 year.
Yeah.
So can he do it?
Yeah, Quinn Miners, I think you'd say, okay, this is multiple good years. Let's get his Herbie Hancock on the paper, as Tommy Callahan would say. Baron Browning would be like, okay, you did it once. Can you do it again? But the thing is, if he does it again, then he becomes really expensive, almost prohibitively so.
Yeah. Hey, that's good news for him. Maybe bad news for the Broncos. Can you develop the other guys? Let's talk about Baron Browning, who spoke on the edge players in the edge room for the Broncos this year.
I think we have a very talented room, probably one of the more talented rooms that I've been in since I've been here. And I think just the task for us is just to continue to work hard and push one another. We have a lot of guys in our room that can be starters in this league, so, it's not a lot of room for error in our room, so we have to be on point every day, and it just push one another to be our best. And I'm embracing it, and I think all the guys in the room are embracing it. And I feel like we have a lot of veterans in our room between me, Coop, and even Nick, so we're just trying to push one another and keep the standard upheld that's been upheld in our room before we even got here.
The standard. So it's interesting. He gets it. Well, think about this with Baron Browning. When he made his Broncos rookie debut, Von Miller was still here. Bradley Chubb was still here.
Significant.
Yeah. Von Miller specifically, when you talk about the standard, that's the guy. More so than Bradley Chubb, who only briefly kind of hit that apex level here back in his rookie season. So he understands kind of what it means. And remember when Baron Browning, was first showing flashes, showing that bend, it was like, oh, haven't seen that type of bend since Von Miller.
Right.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that spin move since DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah.
Spoon move's a different, that's a pretty significant move.
Yeah. A spoon move. That's interesting.
It is interesting. I'll bail myself out of this by saying Baron Browning talked about continuity.
Yes.
Not with the spoon move, but with this defense. Here's what Baron had to say.
Yeah, I think that's huge. It definitely goes to having a lot of confidence, I would say, and learning how to play off one another and learning in certain calls, what calls can I take my shot in. And I think, like I said, just playing together and playing off one another.
Yeah. Continuity. And for Baron Browning, he hasn't had that in his pro career.
Right.
This is the first time for both him and Jonathan Cooper as well, fellow member of the 2021 draft class. They've had the same defensive coordinator for consecutive seasons as pros.
That's going to help.
It's really interesting. The more I talk to guys, when I talk to them, especially at that Coors Field UC Health event last month, the more you realize how profoundly players are appreciating the schematic and leadership from a coordinator level continuity that they have this year, because that's something that hasn't been the case, is having, the last time you had gear to year continuity in terms of offensive and defensive play callers was 2020 to 2021. Pat Shurmur on offense, Vic Fangio on defense, and as the head coach. And I'm not sure that everybody really wanted continuity at the time. These guys seem pretty relieved that they're having continuity now.
Yeah, it's good because then they can react and they don't have to think. They don't have to learn something new. They just have to play football and play it at the highest level. And someone taking those strides, and it's really good to see because if we rewind just a little over a year ago, you and I were watching early OTAs a year ago, and we saw Nik Bonitto overrunning things.
Yeah.
And I look at you and I go, that's not going to work. As the offseason went on, and we were in the bubble that day, but as the offseason went on, Bonito got a little bit better. Training camp, he was a stud.
Yep.
And now we're seeing another step from Nik Bonitto this offseason. It's great to see.
Yep. And we're seeing him consistently get in the backfield. We're seeing, and again, he's not overrunning things. We're also seeing him, although we don't know yet about how he's going to be at the point of attack against the run, we're seeing a lot of backside pursuit against the run. So when it's going away from him and you've got a play that's slow to develop, which does happen, or you've got the D-line crashing and forcing the running back outside, Bonito, with so much speed coming around the flank, is making plays from the backside. That, and I use this comparison very advisedly, Cease, when I see that, I think of how for Von Miller, a turning point early in his career. Remember, he got benched from an every down role briefly in a game as a rookie because he wasn't holding up against the run. And the thing that he did is he was in on sub packages, but you saw him start by showing a lot of great backside pursuit against the run to make plays that way. That built his confidence to where then he became a plus player at the point of attack when it ran in his direction. And that was part of Von Miller becoming Von Miller. So we're seeing the first step of that from Nik Bonitto being able to make plays against the run in pursuit. Can he take that to the next level and when they're running at him? Because for the first 2 years of Nik Bonitto's career, the book around the league has been run at him. You'll get your yards. And I feel like there's a chance he could change that now.
He could change that and be like Vaughn was so sneaky good because he would dip under a guy and then he'd go grab somebody's ankle.
Yep.
You got to learn how to do that. It's not take on. You're not big enough if you're Nik Bonitto. Jonathan Cooper could do that, right? That's why Coop, you can't run on Coop's side because Coop's big enough where he's going to just turn you and keep contain and it's not going to be a good play. Bonito, you either wash him out or he overruns it because he's so intent on getting to the quarterback. If you learn like Vaughn, little dip, I feel like Patches O'Houlihan, right? So you're going to dip, dive,
dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. The 5 Ds of dodgeball.
If you learn that, you're Nik Bonitto. You're making money.
Exactly. You are. He's got 2 years. Baron Browning's in his contract here. Nik Bonitto's got 2 years to figure this thing out. 8 sacks. He was right behind Jonathan Cooper, who had 8.5. Nik Bonitto had more quarterback hits, though, 20 to Jonathan Cooper's 13. Coop's a guy that I would say you're getting the most out of him. Like, the production is steadier with Cooper. When the pass rush isn't there, he's a plus player against the run, plus player at the point of attack. The thing is, like, where with Baron Browning, you question that you do have questions about the consistency in part because of the injuries. With Bonito, you have questions about the consistency because of what he's been at the point of attack. You don't have a question with Jonathan Cooper. Jonathan Cooper is a security blanket. You know what you're getting with him. And that's part of why I feel pretty, I'd say right now, if you're looking at who's going to be starting, the competition is probably a little bit, it may be more between Nik Bonitto and Baron Browning. Jonathan Cooper, because you know what you're getting, probably ends up lining up on one side.
Steady Eddie of the group. I'm going to fast forward past training camp and say, if Baron Browning's going to get paid, even with the franchise tag, it depends on the development and the play of Jonah Ellis. This is where the rookie comes into the conversation because we know he can get after it in many different ways. And I love Chris Thomason's hat and his sweater in this clip. Well, let's hear from Jonah Ellis, who talked to us about his multiple moves.
On your college tape, I counted 6 or 7 moves that you've got. What's your favorite one?
6 or 7. Honestly, I thought I had 3. I like double swipe, spin, and speed to bowl.
You love that spin.
Yeah, those are probably my 3
Where'd you
favorite.
learn that from? Where'd you pick that up?
I mean, my dad taught it to me when I was young, but that was like kind of before I was an edge rusher. And then he kind of helped me like refine it, and Coach Powell, and I work out with this guy named Anton too, and all 3 of them really just mix in all their like perspectives on the move and how to do it, and I kind of just like took all 3 of them and meshed it into one.
Really cool. Picking up stuff.
Yep.
Picking up little bits and pieces along the way, putting it together in a collective. And of course, with Drew Sanders having, suffered the Achilles injury, there's a path for Jonah Ellis to get some playing time right away, to be part of a potential 4-player rotation in there. How fast he develops may well, like you say, determine what's happening contractually with Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper, both of whom are in the final years of their rookie deals, pardon me.
Right. And if we look at projecting like who's going to lead the team in sacks, could be any of these 4 players we're talking about.
Yeah, less likely Jonah Ellis because he's going to have to work his way up. I think the top 3 are, those top 3 guys, they're going to get a lot of playing time. I still wouldn't sleep on Thomas Incoom, although I think he's got to have a big training camp here. The Broncos.
We have not seen much from him. We liked him last year. We have clips of him talking to us last year.
Yeah, they felt enough to keep him around all season, but he didn't flash. I saw more flashes from Ronnie Perkins, the guy who kind of went back and forth between the 53 and the practice squad last year. Saw more flashes from Ronnie Perkins during off-season work than Thomas Incoom. And then, of course, you got Jalen Allen, the undrafted rookie out of Memphis, who basically may be your Thomas Incoom this year in terms of the guy you're developing, albeit on the practice squad. I mean, that's the whole thing. The cycle moves pretty fast. You get a year to kind of show, whether it's on the practice field or the 53, you get a year to show your potential. Then the next wave comes in. It's always churning. So yes. Incoom faces a really important training camp. But here's the thing. With Drew Sanders out of the picture until at least mid-season, there's room for 5 edges on this roster.
Sure.
So if Incoom flashes, yeah, he can absolutely make the 53 and start working his way up.
Yep. He was patient last year in a Jail Skinner sort of way. Hell, Alex Forsythe. Hell, Riley Moss. We talk about players that just didn't play, but you kept because you didn't want to lose them, and Coombs on that list. Definitely in need of a huge training camp where this battle, Broncos football, to me, Mace, it's about rushing the passer. It's about great safety play, running the ball, rushing the passer.
Not quarterback.
When you get special, the Broncos have been spoiled with special for some years, right? When you have Elway special, when you have Peyton Manning special, like you've been spoiled.
You have.
You didn't draft those guys. You didn't draft them.
You had 16 years of Elway and you had 4 years of Peyton Manning. And then you have some other years of pretty good. Jay Cutler, Jake Plummer, Craig Morton, Charlie Johnson in his day when the Broncos had their first winning season in 73.
Notice how you don't say anybody after 2015. They've had some really good quarterbacks before 2015.
Although Russell Wilson, if you go by passer rating, he's not falling behind. That's one. We'll be talking about the last couple of years for a while, I think. But you know what, though? I mean, here we are. We have obviously done the defensive side before the offense. This is the first time in the position previews that we've mentioned Russell Wilson.
Good. The less we mention him, the better. The more sacks this team gets, the better. These edges are talented. We'll see how it works out. The more you help us out on YouTube, though, the better. How do they do that, Mace?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
and hit that notification bell.
And so that you
never miss
vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.